I know, right? Isn't he cute? This is me when I was 6 years old. And you can't tell, but I cut my own hair. My parents said that they weren't going to take me to get a haircut, so I cut my own hair, looking down in the mirror. And then my mom got mad and she said, no, we're not taking you now, so you got to go to school like that. So that was a picture. The basics about me. I'm Mexican. Came out of the box this way, this is my color. I'm also gay, out of the box, no accessory spot. I was raised Catholic, very conservative. I'm also HIV positive. This September will be 15 years. This September will be 15 years that I'm HIV positive. And I'm totally in my head, I'm throwing a quinceañera for myself. I'm totally gonna do it. You think I'm lying, follow me on Facebook, you'll see it. I'm like playing up a big, nasty pink dress, and I'm gonna do it. And I've also been clean and sober now. In fact, just June will be 8 years. I'll be clean and sober 8 years. So that's the basics of where I come from. I was raised in Dallas, and my story starts in Dallas. When I was originally exposed to HIV, I was about 20 years old. I lived in Dallas. I lived with my parents. Had a nice little job in an office, made good money. It was cute, yeah. And I worked in a building, and my friend next to me, there's no details, so I'm not going to speak to my friend. So my friend, Frank Jimenez, who sat next to me, I always throw him under the bus. I haven't seen him in like 30 years, but still. So Frank and I sat next to each other, and Frank had TB. Everybody knows what TB is? So Frank had TB, so the whole office had to go get tested for TB. And I was like, ah, damn it. So we go get tested, and anybody been tested for TB before? Anybody? All right, so you know they prick you, and it's a little dot, and if it grows, and it's a color. So when I go get tested, and I sit down, and I'm going to make you feel a little bit. So the nurse goes, oh, okay, your name? I'm like, Frank Jimenez. Because you can give a fake name. I'm like, I'm Frank Jimenez. She's like, all right. So Mr. Jimenez, we're going to ask you some questions. I'm like, okay, cool. So she starts asking, have you had, are you straight, gay, or bi? I'm like, whoa. Nobody asked me that. I'm like, gay? She's like, all right, so have you had anal, vaginal, or oral sex? I'm like, whoa, that's really personal. So you have to answer all of these really personal questions. So when she gets to the bottom of the questionnaire, she goes, well, I think we're going to run an HIV test. Now, this is 1990 in Dallas, Texas. In 1990, in Dallas, and yes, we were snobby. Dallas has always been snobby. In Dallas, we were very supportive of the fight against HIV and AIDS. We were. But only if it affected somebody else. So if there was some pageant or there was a parade, everyone wanted to donate because we wanted to make sure that our friends saw us. I'm going to give $1 to the funding. Yay! But if my friend knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody who was HIV positive, we didn't talk to you. Because any association could just totally eliminate from social setting. You could get fired from your job, you could get kicked out of your apartment, friends would isolate you, you could get kicked out of your house, so nobody wanted to talk about HIV and AIDS. But we would totally support the cause, just to talk to them about it. So when she tests me, I'm like, all right, cool. Now, little Catholic Mexican boy, I'm like, wow, I can't tell my family. Because they draw blood, she says, we'll call you in 2 weeks to give you results. So I'm going to use, what's your name?
Cat.
Cat. So Cat, imagine Cat that I come to you and I go, secret. So, nobody here, right? So the world is going to explode in 2 weeks. Boom. I know she invited you to go out in a month. You can't go. She didn't get it. But only you and I know that, and you can't tell anybody. How's that feel?
Not so good.
Not so good. So imagine living in a time where you couldn't talk about HIV and AIDS, and this person just tells you, you might be positive, and we'll tell you in a couple of weeks. So go home and relax. We'll call you. So I go home, and I'm panicking, and I'm struggling, and I'm like, oh my God, if I'm HIV positive, they're going to fire me from work, my mom's going to kill me, then my dad's going to kill me. And then when I'm dead, they're going to kick me out of the house. And I'm going to lose everything, no more friends, and I'm only 20 years old, never mind dating, I just started sneaking into bars. What's going to happen with my life? So 2 weeks later, they call my house and the phone rings. And this is the time when we had a landline. Oh, yeah, probably only was that. I gotta remember those. This is before cell phones. There was a time called 1990. So the phone rings and they're like, Mr. Jimenez. I'm like, who? They're like, Mr. Frank Jimenez. I'm like, I don't know. They're like, we're calling from the clinic. I'm like, oh, that's me, right? She's like, we'd like you to come back to the clinic. you know, when they say, can you come back? It's not good. Because if it's good news, they just give it to you on the phone, like, everything's great, we'll see you in a couple of weeks, or whatever. But you have to come back, so I was like, oh man. So I had to go back to the clinic. I walk in, the nurse comes after me, she's like, have a seat. She gives me some pamphlets about HIV and AIDS. She goes, I'm gonna grab some things and I'll be right back. So the nurse walks out of the door, and as she walked out, I walked out right behind her, and I left. Got in my car, drove out of the parking lot, went home. I didn't wear a note. Because as a good Catholic boy, I knew that if we didn't talk about it, it's not true. I don't know, I didn't hear it, la 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 la, I don't want to know. So I'm like, the less I know, the better. I don't need to know about this, because then I'll have that on my conscience. So then I went on for 10 years living in denial. So I moved to Houston. I lived in Houston for a while, and I'm going to make the story a little quicker. I want to make sure you get up here. In Houston, there you go. Those were my symptoms. I knew in the back of my head that I was positive. I knew it. But I'm going to give you, your brain is so powerful that it will tell you that you're not sick when you are. Because I did not fall, I did not compose, I was skinny. And I'll show you a picture. I was really skinny. But nobody told me I was sick until my boss at the restaurant I was working at sat me down and goes, Daniel, you don't look well. You know what, go home, take care of yourself. When you feel better, come back to work. Until somebody told me, you are sick, is when I started to propose you. You can ask questions, by the way. I put that up there, so just in case you forget. I think we can jump over that one. I'll just go ahead. That was me. That was me actually in 2001. I got sick in 2000. September 2000, I went into the hospital with all those symptoms that I showed you. And I looked skinny at that. I'd already gained about 5 pounds then. Kids in Irvine High School, one kid told me that I looked like the poster child for Feed the Children Africa. I know, right? And another little girl told me that I looked like an illegal alien that just swam across the river. It's funny now, yes. There was, I'll just point out a couple of 3 things so you can come up and talk. When I had to go to the hospital, I don't remember much getting there. I remember trying to get out of the car that I was in, and it was raining that day, because I remember trying to get out, and by then my leg muscles were pretty gone, that I fell down, and I fell into a puddle of water. And it was raining, and they had to come and get a wheelchair, and nobody wanted to touch me. And I remember being very humiliated and feeling very sorry for myself that I could not even get to the door of the hospital. And that was sad for me. And I thought, wow, I'm dead. A lot of people thought I was dying. By the time I got to that, I had all that: bronchitis, stomach infection, diarrhea, night sweats. I had TB. My numbers were 110, so I AIDS. So in my paperwork, it says AIDS. I will forever, to the government and the CDC, be an AIDS patient. But my numbers now are 260 something or other. So I'm actually at an HIV level. It takes a lot of work to put this together. That's a couple of years ago. Thank you. I'm an actor too, so that was one of my headshots. This is the cocktail. So that's my cocktail, the top 3. Everything underneath that is what I take for other stuff. So as you can see, it's not just about taking care of the HIV, I have to take care of everything else. There was a time when I took antidepressants. I don't take those anymore. And you're like, oh, now it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. And if I had to pay for them, it would be about that much, but I don't pay for it anymore. There's a program called ADAP, and they help me pay for medications. So I actually pay about $250 a month or something like that. But my insurance was like $25. Before John comes up here, this is my information. Feel free. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I have a podcast show, and we'll still answer questions once it's done, so I'm still here. But if you have any questions that you don't want to ask while we're still here, feel free to email me or message me, and I would be happy to